Welcome to another episode of From the Logo Podcast. We got Gifted in the building. James are also here. What's going on, brother? After your vacation, man. I know I was off when you came back, man. I had some family stuff going on, man.
No doubt.
It's good to have most of the team back in here, man. We got a few topics. I feel like we got some really good topics to get at today. Of course, we got the title topic and contracts that teams may be already regretting. These are contracts that were given out over the past summer, so not like contracts from 2-3 years ago. There are a lot of teams could be regretting those as well, but we're going to stay focused on this past offseason contracts that were given out. Then the first one that we want to start off the top with is one that Draymond Green. It's been an interesting season for Draymond. Suspended twice already, ejected out a few games. And I think when you look at the contract, 4 years, $100 million for Draymond, that was a contract that I understood they gave him because of what he's meant to the team, how long he's been there. But I think for me personally, looking at this contract, the reason why if the Warriors should be regretting this is nobody else was giving Draymond anything close to this contract out on the free agent market. Even if he did leave, they were bidding against themselves and still lost, in my opinion. Who wants to take this one away first on Draymond Green's contract? Go ahead, Giffy.
Well, as a Warriors fan, I think the Warriors were in a very peculiar spot here. I feel like with what they've accomplished with their franchise, I think that their main vision is to at least keep this core of Draymond, Stephen Clay together for 2 more years. And for the Draymond contract, I will say this: he's making $100 million over 4 years, but some of the years are descending, and the last year isn't all the way guaranteed. So I think they did about as good as they could have done if their goal was to try to keep Draymond for the time. His value when he's on the court is still pretty much irreplaceable for this Golden State team, which still hasn't been good. So I hear that, a part about will they still regret that payment? But ultimately, if their vision is to keep that core together, even though, yes, no one else was going to throw him that much money, the threat of him leaving to join another team was too much for them to bear. And obviously, if Draymond's not there, the defense drops off significantly. He covers up a lot of holes that are on this roster. And also for the young talent to, coach them up and show them the ways of the league defensively, Draymond is still one of the best at doing that. So it made sense. Am I happy about it? Not really. So it's kind of bittersweet, but I don't think that it's a severe overpay where Golden State is like, damn, I can't believe we did this. It's more like, damn, we overpaid him, but hey.
I think with Draymond Green, it was a situation where they just paid him for what he did and had to maybe kind of take care of him. All the success that, this core brought to him. It was just one of those things. I think in the long term, they just kind of thought, all right, maybe kind of have a reputation with other players and maybe future free agents. Hey, we take care of our own. You're successful for us. We'll take care of you, even in the back end kind of deal. So I think in terms of that, it kind of helped them in their grades. But it was definitely just a situation where, once again, they had no competition, but because of what he did for the team, they felt it was okay. And I mean, $25 million, I know it sounds like a lot, but in NBA money, you see the max contract was 50, 60, and even some of these other guys getting 35, 40. It's an overpay, but I don't think it's an overpay as much as we'd like to think. I think another team still might have gave him somewhere between 15 and 20, just by the way kind of these NBA contracts work out and work. It's definitely an overpay, but something that, again, they're willing to do, and probably not as big of an overpay as we think.
Great point by Jalen, though, because we're nearing the part where probably in about 3 to 5 years, the mid-level exception is going to be $20 million.
Man, you ain't wrong.
The way the things are going
up. Yep.
Yeah, yep. We're not too far off from that happening. So that's actually a great point by Jalen there. Dub, how you feeling about Draymond's contract? Do you think that the Warriors are regretting this because of the situations that both Gifted and Jalen have laid out? Dub, do you think that they're just looking at this as it's the cost to do business?
I think if Draymond wasn't such a headache to deal with, they wouldn't care. Like, the issue is the off-court stuff that makes everything worse and paying money. I think if he wasn't choking people out and punching his teammates and everything, they would be completely fine with this, because it's more like Jalen said this earlier. It's more like, maybe you're not going to get this amount of money with other people, but I got to look out for my stars. And what we've done together has been a great run for the last decade. And we won titles together. But the issue is I would assume with the Warriors is, dag, we're paying all this money for a headache, a guy who's threatening retirement. Like, that's crazy to me. So it's not more about like his on the court play. It's more about, bro, this dude is wilding. So that's really the main issue right here is like the money would be completely fine if Draymond wasn't being such a DICK. So it is what it is, you know?
I'm gonna double on that for sure.
Do you think this is going to be something that the Warriors are dealing with the rest of this contract? Is Dre going to be able to rein it back in, the non-basketball aspect of things, or this is just something gifted? You have a better chance of answering this than anybody. Are we going to just be dealing with headache Dre for the rest of the next 3 years on this contract?
Oh man, I'm gonna be real with you, man. Draymond is such an interesting player because after he got suspended the last time, he was on pretty good behavior, and things kind of flare up. I feel like Draymond is going to be Draymond. I don't think you change a 34-year-old man to this extent. I just feel like he has to do a better job of not wilding out. And he still has moments where he gets to a point where in the first 4 minutes versus a Orlando Magic team where we needed that win, he's getting ejected out of the game within the first 4 minutes. Now, is that a good thing for him to miss a must-win game for the Warriors? They still won, but they, obviously needed him to play in that game. No, but I think that's a line that he's so used to crossing over that they're just going to probably try to deal with it for these last 2 years. I don't think you can change the core of who Draymond is, but as long as he's able to maintain that court value and not go too crazy as he did this season, which I think by far in terms of off the court antics and whatnot, this has been the worst year for Draymond. So just have to hope that next year's a better year than this one, because a lot of stuff happened this year with Draymond.
Thing is, how can you predict that? Like, how can you predict like Stu's punching people?
You can't predict the unpredictable.
So it's like maybe, who knows? It could go to the right direction, go to left. It reminds me of like the Kyrie conversation that I had last year with like Mars on Open Gym. How he was like, I was putting the faith in like, bro, Kyrie's in a scenario that is great for him. He's getting the money that he wants. He's in a different city, change the scenery. Even though everyone's afraid of him being unpredictable, I said I kind of think I understand where Kyrie Irving's head is at, and I don't think there's no reason to sit here and question that with his tenure in the Dallas Mavericks, especially with him getting older and maturing a bit more, where everyone's like, oh man, he's unpredictable. You never know, yada, yada, yada. He's consistently inconsistent. I'm like, I just don't know how to read people, but it is what it is. But this one right here, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think I'm pretty good at reading people, but I don't know what the hell Draymond's going to do. I really don't.
Draymond doesn't know what Draymond. I truly believe that Draymond has great intentions when he goes into every game, and he just looks at me like, damn, I just did that. Like, you can see afterwards, like, he's like, what did I just do, bro? Like, it's crazy with Draymond, bro.
It's just tough because when he goes on a podcast, like, yeah, that was bad. I should not have done that. Got to be out there for my team. Then the very next game, you get ejected off of cursing out a referee off a play that had nothing to do with you. It's like, okay, I don't know what to do with that,
And this is again why that commercial with Dre is such a great commercial that we talked
great commercial.
About last Sunday.
It is phenomenal.
Great commercial.
I want to say it was interesting with Draymond because remember in like 2014, 2015 when the Warriors were finding their stride, a lot of the NBA discourse behind the Warriors was they're soft, right? You had these like two kind of skinny, you had these two skinny light-skinned dudes shooting the ball a ton, winning games like, oh, this team is too soft, too small. And Draymond, that kind of quote-unquote enforcer, a little attitude, a little edge, they were like, he was really needed. And then now you see kind of the other side. I think one of the things why we're kind of seeing the others, why Draymond's seen differently now too, is because that kind of enforcer attitude guy isn't as enforced as it was in the older game. I think at that time, that was still maybe kind of a needed commodity toughness, a guy that's going to be there, be the mouth of the team, do the dirty stuff, this and that. Well, now maybe, you know what I mean? Now
be the mouth of the team, do the dirty stuff is crazy.
It's Sunday, baby. But
happy Easter.
Happy Easter. But yeah, I just think now maybe it's more of a finesse game that maybe like that role isn't as appreciated. But I think for this team again, I do think in some ways that attitude is still needed. Like I understand the punching and stuff; it's a little overboard, but I still think Draymond in the locker room, even though Jordan Poole stuff, I still think he's one of those guys when he's on your team, you'll love him for what he does. If you're playing against him, you're going to hate him. Do you think
100%?
He's definitely going to do some stupid things, but he's a guy that I feel like you know he's on your team. He's going to have your back 100. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's funny too. Like even being in a scenario, me and Ticket was talking actually about a certain somebody that is kind of similar in that way. Where like, you know, it's funny. Like it's crazy, it's funny, and when you're on the same crew, you know, it's dope. You know, it's not like nobody's looking at that person any type of way, but at the same time, it's like, bro, we need you to act right. Yeah, like we need you to act right, and it's like, come on, bro. Like we need everything going well. And Trey, like, bro, the run he's been on in the last 2 years is crazy. Like,
bro, it's crazy. Like if he was younger and did this like in his first 3-4 years in the league, they'd be talking about him not being in the league anymore. We'd be talking about him getting blackballed, bro.
I really hate these last 2 years the most, only because he's also still had very good moments on the court defensively. And it's like it's feeling like now it's just, oh, Draymond's this and that, but it's like people will then completely forget about just how he defined an era with his defense, right? Like how he should go down as one of the best defenders ever. Instead, it's like, oh, he's just this crazy dude that stomped on DeMontis, that kicked Steven Adams in the nuts, that choked out Rudy Gobert, that punched Nurkic in the face.
I forgot the DeMontis in the postseason.
Hey, the Draymond Green
going on, man.
Dirtiest plays or move, whatever that video is. It's literally you watch
like 10 minutes long.
And it's 10 minutes long, but then when you realize most of it happened in the last 3 years, you're just like, what's been happening, bro?
It's crazy. It's crazy, bro. Truly.
Yo, when he retires, he's gonna hit up Jake Paul. Yo, put me on a card, bro.
Oh, facts.
No.
Hey, man, that boxing money now. That boxing money.
That boxing money's sick. Well, NBA money's wild. I'm not gonna.
It is NBA money.
NBA money. But that boxing money does help for sure.
I think the thing we all need to realize too, the thing that we're missing out the most on this is too bad the Houston Rockets didn't go on this run earlier, because could you imagine a 9-10 seed matchup in the play-in with Draymond Green and Dylan Brooks on the court at the same time?
I think both get ejected.
Dylan Brooks, bro. And Dylan Brooks be getting his ass ejected every other game, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy, Dylan Brooks.
I swear Dylan Brooks be like, hey, I might get cooked tonight. I'm going to get ejected 3 minutes in. Like, I'm starting to get cooked. Let me go ahead and get ejected.
That's possible.
So
that is too funny, bro. Are we talking about go ahead, Gifted.
Yeah. So we're talking about worse contracts that teams are already regretting, right? I'll say this team didn't pay this guy, but his first year of money kicked in this year, and I can guarantee you they're already regretting that commitment. And that would be the Washington Wizards when they traded for Jordan Poole. I gotta say, man, I don't hate Jordan Poole. This might come off as hate, but he's legitimately been one of the worst NBA players to watch this entire season. Terrible decisions, very low efficiency, not a good basketball player, but has shown moments off of the bench towards the end of this season. But ultimately, 4 years, $130 million. That's a lot of money for Jordan Poole. If you're the Wizards, who have no direction at all, you now have a contract that is going to be hard to get off of, being that he has 3 years left on his deal. If I'm the Wizards, I'm absolutely regretting that deal right now.
Well, the thing is when you look at Jordan Poole as well, he just doesn't look like somebody that enjoys life, much less basketball. He just doesn't look like he enjoys life, bro.
Damn,
I agree with you.
I think the problem is he really enjoys life.
No. Maybe he enjoys life too much. Maybe that's what it is.
Hayes, I agree with you, but that happened as soon as he joined the Wizards. As soon as his mental health needed to get checked as soon as he joined the Wizards. Because then that's when I really think he hated
his mental health was better after getting punched than it was after joining. That, like we can clearly say joining the Wizards is worse than getting punched in the face at practice.
And they sent him there to die. Like it's you know what I'm saying? Like
And Chocolate
It's a rough
City is a
spot.
great. DC's a great city, bro. It's a great city.
It is
It's a great
actually.
city.
It
I
actually
want to
is a
remind
very
people that
fun
like
place.
early in the season, Kyle Kuzma was like, "You don't want to be that team," and they are indeed that team. The other night, the Pistons beat the shit out the Wizards. Like it's not a, they're trying to figure things out over there.
I think me personally, like, I guess before the trade deadline, I kept thinking the Wizards was worse than the Pistons. I swore it.
Yeah,
Far worse than the Pistons. But the Pistons just, for some reason, can't close games. Like, they're one of the worst clean teams in the league this year. It's
same
insane
game every
how
time, man.
they can't finish games. It's wild. But Jordan Poole's a great one, especially in terms of like chemistry. Chemistry on the Wizards, especially for the majority of the year, just hasn't been great for him because his ego was a bit big from playing on the Warriors. And, this is my team, and I don't have to listen to what the coach says. So Wizards is just sitting here like, oh, we dealing with a little rascal over here. What the hell is this? Like, I'm not trying to deal with this. Another couple contracts I was looking at is mainly 2 and 1. The Milwaukee Bucks with Chris Middleton and Dame. People don't understand. Dame's contract is wild. Like, it is insane.
60 million incoming. Yeah.
Bro, what's gonna happen? And on top of that, you have Giannis, but then on top of that, you have to pay a guy in Chris Middleton for the next 3 years. He's all the way to 2 years, 2025 to 2026 is when it's over, where he's getting 95 mil within that stretch. That's OD to deal with, especially considering the fact that he's always hurt. He's not really what he used to be in 2021, which is why they paid him that money because of that run. So it's like all of those 2 contracts in one doesn't have a lot of wiggle room to try to make some extra signings, some extra deals to improve this roster where the Bucks do still seem a bit flawed. So it's just that's a headache to deal with.
Chris Middleton's game recedes with his hairline. Every year his hairline goes back, his game gets worse.
Yo, that's crazy.
He's stressed. He's stressed.
He's stressed. Yeah.
Bro, if I had $1 for every so I was watching Bucks film, right? So on Friday, I reviewed Bucks and Suns film, and I'm like, all right, bro, let me see exactly like how good or bad these teams are, right? And I'm watching Chris Middleton, and it's like I've never seen a player consistently shot create to get to a tougher shot than Chris Middleton this season. I'm like, bro, you're wide open, shoot the ball, and he put the ball on the floor for a contested step back. That's kind of why the year where Giannis won, why he was so inconsistent, because it's like you got bag, but you're using the bag to not get to the best quality looks every time. Like, it's been crazy. And him getting older, where he's already been hurt for a lot of this season, that contract is going to age pretty bad for the Bucks, especially because they're in a situation now where this roster probably isn't good enough to really be a true title contender anyway. So I'm looking at it like, all right, Brook Lopez gets older, Chris Middleton also gets older, and then like Dub said, you got Dame, who in the next 2 years will be making $60 million by himself. It's going to be a drastic cap conversation in Milwaukee for sure.
And how much Brook Lopez making? Like 21 mil?
I think 21 mil.
He's getting older though too. Like I think they'll be okay letting him walk and probably replace him with someone younger. I think a couple.
But my thing is, who are you going to replace that can do what Brook does in terms of defensively? I'm at the basket for Giannis, and I can also shoot. Like who? Like I don't know.
There's not a lot of that. Not a lot of that.
There's not a lot of that who'll give, I guess, to both.
Oh my God.
Miles Turner comes to mind. Expensive.
Okay, we can talk about. I got one that I want to bring up, but Miles
I know which
Turner's
one you want to bring up too.
Yeah, Miles Turner's definitely like the thing with Miles Turner. I look at is that I like Miles Turner. I think like the player that he is now for this version of the Pacers team, it works better than what it's worked at any time before, and you got to give him credit for that. But when it's all said and done, as this team continues and they have to pay their younger players, I think they're going to look at that contract and say, I don't know.
Just for clarification,
he's
not making 21. He's actually making 25 mil this year.
Miles?
23 next year. I'm talking about Brook Lopez.
No, that's Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's
he has a descending contract. That's good for Brook.
Oh yeah, because I believe Brook Lopez used the Rockets as leverage to make sure the Bucks paid him. So yeah, he got paid, bro.
I told people, people hate on me, bro. I was like, yo, Brook Lopez, he old as hell. He's 35, 36, or 35 at that point. I was like, he looking to get to a bag, bro. And the Milwaukee ain't getting it.
He got to walk.
No, he got to it. Salute to him.
Yeah, man.
I think a combo of contracts that I don't know. They might not regret it now because they moved off of one. They still have one though. I think Miami Heat with the contracts they gave Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson. You combine those two deals, they could have added a third star or someone who's going to really help that team. I think Miami might have been held back. They might have won a championship if they didn't sign the extension with those two guys. I think Lowry and Duncan.
It was really Lowry.
It was
really Lowry more than anything else.
Credit, they did try to find a way to combine those contracts to bring in another star and trade.
Yeah. And they flipped Lowry to get Terry, which I think for them they're living with that.
No, that's fine. No, 100%. I just think that if they signed somebody else, they could have instead of Duncan Robinson, instead of Larry, they might have had another championship. They would have so much cap room to really add pieces that could have taken them over the top. We saw what Jimmy did in the playoffs, what Bam was able to do. That other guy could have been a missing piece.
But even then, like there wasn't people available. Like as much people want to give people like crap.
That's the point.
Like there wasn't a lot of guys. A lot of guys that was moving teams were trades.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, even if we didn't have the money, even if we had lesser money on Lowry and Duncan, like who's taking the trade packages that the Jazz got for D-Mitch, or the Nets got for Kyrie, or
what about like a Jalen Brunson when that happened?
Jalen Brunson, no one even knew that. And the contract that he got from the Knicks was hefty. I'm not sure if Pat Riley would have given that contract to Jalen Brunson.
I don't think he would have given. No, I don't think anybody but the Knicks would have gave that to Jalen Brunson. They gave him that to make sure that the Mavs didn't match.
I just want to say,
go ahead.
I want to say with that too. I said this at the time. I thought the Jalen Brunson contract was a steal, and I was saying that because if you saw how he played for his last year for the Dallas Mavericks. The Knicks have never had a guard that could just play a calm game. And I felt like he was being underpaid. That Jalen Brunson contract looking like a steal. Again, he just dropped 60 points versus Spurs. Great game. Go watch that if y'all missed it. But to your point, Dub, right? Think about what Miami's already done. They already had money committed to Bam and Jimmy Butler. Lowry was meant to be the piece to take them over the top. He aged, so he couldn't quite do that. And also, this is a very, very big point here, right? Duncan Robinson went from a guy who was a DNP podcaster to a guy that had legitimate value for another finals run. And now even this year, I think, overall, this is probably his best season yet. So to me, it's mainly Lowry with the age, which makes sense because he was the older asset. And they were still able to flip that for a younger Rozier who potentially can maybe open up room for them to trade a Tyler Hero contract if they wanted to. So I don't think it's too bad for Miami.
I think it got Kyrie Irving.
I don't think they wanted to get Kyrie though.
But the trade package that Dallas gave him, bro. Like I'm not gonna lie, like it's hard for us to match anything that anyone else was giving, bro.
I don't think Miami would have did that. Nah. Yeah.
I think they would have. Kyrie Irving is not that difficult to deal with, bro.
I think with Pat Riley would be like, I could deal with.
The thing is, and I kind of lean. I understand where Gift is coming from, but I kind of also understand where Dub's coming from because I truly think that Pat Riley, the Miami Heat believes so much in Heat culture. I think they feel like they can rehab anybody.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I can't even say you're wrong about that. I'm just saying if you look at Miami, they have been very, very lenient to do any deals that not only involve huge salary, but also draft compensation, right? A big part of why the Dame stuff didn't go down, and rightfully so, they didn't want to throw in too many unprotected picks with Tyler Hero, with Duncan, with Caleb, just to get Damian Lillard. They feel like that would be a massive overpay. And I feel like with the Kyrie stuff, we have to keep in mind is a lot of stuff off the court with Kyrie was popping off at that moment. And I feel like some teams felt like that was going to impact his value. That's ultimately why he was put in a position with the Mavs, because no team wanted to trade for Kyrie when he was a net during his last year. He gets traded to Dallas, and now it's like, all right, well, we have no other option but you, so we're going to pay you. That's why Kyrie ended up getting the huge contract that he got because they traded those, assets to get him. But no other team really wanted him. At that point, Kyrie had really cornered his own market.
I'm just saying, bro, especially Miami, when you got a talent like that and Kyrie Irving, if we had the freedom to do it, we would have pushed even harder. We pushed for some. We pushed to have him over there. Thing is, we just couldn't push as much. And even I'm not gonna lie, Dame would, in my opinion, Dame would be in Miami if Dame wasn't just being a jerk to the Portland Trailblazers like that. And that's honestly the only reason why he's not. So I think Miami was willing to sell anything for him or sell a lot for Kyrie Irving. The issue is when you have other teams that's just able to, because we don't have as much trade value as everyone else. Like,
other teams have more things to,
the people we have, the role players we get, and the picks we have aren't valuable. We make those picks valuable because we know how to draft and know how to build up.
I love that Dub said that because that is another huge thing. When you're doing business with Miami, those picks often aren't going to be as valuable because the Heat's development, the way that they turn undrafted players into actual players, Hayward, Highsmith, and guys of that ilk, that makes their draft picks not as intriguing as Charlotte, 3 unprotected first round picks. For the Heat, that's going to be different because more times than not, they're going to be a good enough team to be in the playoffs, which means that their picks aren't going to hold as much weight.
Yeah, the Miami Heat are one of those teams that you can give them 3 second-round picks, and I feel like they're going to find at least 2 role players out those 3 seconds.
They'll make some out of that. Yeah.
They're going to find something out of it.
Love to see it.
The next player I wanted to bring up, not that they're a bad player, right? I don't think everything as far as regretting is always about the player's performance because I do think.
Oh, hang on. Can I guess who you're talking about?
Go ahead.
Is it Vucevic?
Oh, hell no, because that's a bad contract. Listen, I'm not one of those homers where I'm going to try to spin you or something. I get it. They had to pay Vooch because there were no other centers on the market. But no, Nikola Vucevic, go and look at it. There's only been, I think last time I looked, it was like one player who's had a bad shooting season as he's had with the volumes he's had. He's having a historical bad season. So the Bulls I think they should regret it, but unfortunately, again, as I say every time the Bulls come up on the show, the front office is too fucking stupid to realize that they should regret it. They're probably sitting there like, we got him for $20 million. This is a deal. Yeah,
right. It's the deal.
He gets consistently outperformed by Drummond coming off the bench, and he only played Drum 18 minutes a game.
That.
What are we doing here, bro?
Yeah. Do they regret? Do the Bulls regret like the Levine and Lonzo deal just because of injuries?
Levine's a good.
I was gonna say just because of injuries.
Here's the thing: the Levine deal, because a player that had the efficiency that he did coming off that season and being his youth, you're going to give him the max. He's going to get the max. I don't think the contract is what they regret. I think it's not trading him because keep in mind, last trade deadline, not this past year, the February before, the New York Knicks offered 2 unprotected first-round picks and RJ Barrett, and the Bulls looked at that and said, that's not enough. They would love to get that right now. That's the regret that the Bulls, again, our front office is always, they're remedial, bro. They're really fucking remedial.
I guess Lonzo could be in there, and it's not even, but I don't even think, like, maybe you could be like, regret it, but the Bulls is just
it's just because that's not Lonzo's fault.
That's just a string of bad luck. Like, it's kind of crazy, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't regret my decision. I don't regret paying this man. I thought he was worth that.
And when he was on the court, he was everything you hoped him to be.
He was amazing. He was amazing on the floor.
And I know people always say, well, Lonzo always had injury. Yeah, but Lonzo had injuries where he missed like 25 games. Not the type of injury where you're like, hey, he may legit never play basketball.
Yeah. And the value that he was bringing, he was legitimately a all defensive caliber player. He's one of the best passers in the NBA. And that that backcourt with Lonzo and Caruso was a legitimate threat in the Eastern Conference. So, nah.
And he was shooting. Yeah.
On volume, too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's sad, bro. We weren't doing any content together a few years ago when that trade happened. But I was saying, Hayes, bro, I was like, yo, the Bulls and what crew that they had, bro, they setting up for like a great team later on.
Yeah.
It just
the thing with the Bulls is that if Lonzo would not have went down, and then they would have been able to the last 2 off seasons look to help fix the shortcomings of that team, we would have a team that's a 4th or 5th seed. But unfortunately, everything's fell to shit. Like it just Zach don't want to be there anymore. Lonzo has one leg, as every ball brother does. For some reason, they lower body injuries there. Just they can't help. Vooch fell off a cliff. He can't shoot anymore. Like it's just
At least you got DeMar. At least you got DeMar running the streets.
The year DeMar had an MVP caliber season was
that was
the year Alonzo got hurt.
That was the first year, the team.
You know what? You know what? They might have made the finals that year. I'm not lying. They might have made the finals that year.
They might have made the finals.
I mean, I think we were undefeated against Boston that year too.
I think you might have made the finals that year. The way DeRozan was playing, Lonzo there, was Caruso there yet too?
Yeah, Caruso was together.
Wait, Vooch wasn't bad. Vooch was still 20.
Vooch was still solid then. Yeah.
No, you know what? I'm taking that team over the finals over the Celtics for that season.
That's tough, Jalen. I'm not gonna lie, but
I don't know about that.
My whole thing is, especially with DeMar in the playoffs. No, thank you.
That's another thing.
DeMar that year though, it was a different DeMar.
Bro, I'm not hearing a different DeMar.
40, but I mean,
let's be clear here though, because again, I got to be real. Even though it's my team, it took us for him to hit game winners over the Warriors. I mean, the Wizards at that point in time, and they sucked in too. Like it's that team was losing to a lot of the good teams.
They made the postseason that year. What happened to DeMar?
Yeah, one great game versus Giannis. Every other game,
but granted though, Dub, by
they
then
weren't healthy though.
Levine had half a knee. Lonzo was gone. Io DeSumo had hit the rookie wall like that. People like Io had a great rookie season in the first half of that. Those last 35 games, Io looked every 5 minutes into the game. It looked like he was like, "Hey, bro, let me just get a break. But let's move on, man. The player that I was going to bring up is Desmond Bane, and not to say that Desmond Bane's a bad player, but I want to bring it up to this: it's 5 years, $207 million, and here's another reason why I want to bring it up. Is that they gave him the contract extension 2 years early. They're now going into this current offseason $20 million over the luxury tax. You hesitate or just delay giving him that extension a little bit. This could have been an offseason that you could have done some work on.
I think with the Desmond Bane situation, it's if Ja Morant was healthy, I think this team would be one of the top seeds in the Western Conference. Would definitely be in the playoffs. And I think Desmond Bane would look a lot better. He's definitely one of those guys that Ja Morant, I think, definitely enhances his game, helps him out, get some more open looks. He's obviously had the injury bug too, especially this season. That the whole Memphis team just caught the injury bug. Don't want to blame it too much. So I can understand why, because again, like I said, $40 million a season for Desmond Bane does sound crazy, but he was a guy that was giving you 20 plus a night as a secondary scorer with Ja Morant there, and him, Jaren Jackson, and Desmond Bane were an interesting trio. I do think, again, when those three were healthy, that team was playing great. With Steven Adams there too, that team was playing great basketball. Defensively they were strong. Offensively they were led by Ja, and Desmond Bane. He was almost like the Jalen Brunson to Luka, right? He wasn't that sense. It was very similar in that way. So I think he was needed at the time. Again, could still score the ball. Just one of those guys where you probably need Ja Morant next to him to get the best out of him.
I feel like with Desmond Bane, I definitely get your point, Hayes. But what I would say is the growth that he's made every year to his game in terms of how he's one of the league's best overall shooters on volume, not to mention how he's improved with his on-ball reps. I think they paid him that thinking that him, Ja, and Jaren moving into the future would be good. Because remember, they underpaid Jaren Jackson, which I know he's looked like, kind of rough this year, but still $23 million for a guy that just won DPOY not even a season ago. And knowing that this team is not fully healthy, to me, I can understand their logic. Also, it's Memphis, right? Like, you don't get guys like Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Their goal is to keep these guys as long-term as possible. So I can definitely understand it. I feel like in the past lens, if I'm just saying based off of the previous NBA cap, I would say that's a massive overpay. But I think now, seeing how much it's going up, that contract is going to be like your $25 million, $30 million per year contract, seeing how big the cap goes up. So paying him this now compared to 2 years in the future makes a ton of sense, because imagine how much money he would make then. It would be really, really ridiculous.
The one counter that I'm going to have to that is, though, at what point do you factor in that? Yeah, I get what you're saying, his performance, right? But do you not think with him playing about 20 games less each of the last 3 seasons that he did the season prior, that they could have saved themselves some money on that too? He went from playing 76 games in 21-22 to 58 in 22-23. He's on pace to play 55 games this season. He's playing less and less games. Yeah, the performance is going up when he's on the court, but he's not staying on the court consistently.
And that's what makes it bittersweet right there, because they're in such a tough spot because it's like, okay, he's not playing as many games. They want to bank on the fact that he'll be healthy for the tail end of that contract once it really hits in. He's been missing more games, which is fair, but I just think if you're Memphis, it's like, what are my alternatives? Do I pay him this money where he can reach that level when he's playing, or do I not pay him and I let him walk and I don't give Ja Morant another guy that can actually fit alongside him and really support his game? They're in a tough spot. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like a big market team who can just get star players every other offseason. So to me, that goes into that thinking. Also, they developed this guy from nothing into what he is. So there is a sentimental, value in the contract as well. But the games play stuff, I mean, listen, that's a huge part about if a player is getting paid too much or too low. What do you produce? How consistent are you with that? And how many games are you playing? All that matters. So that's a great point you made there, Hayes.
Real quick, though, XB11 talking to me. Who's the guy talking? Looks like Shams off Wish. I'm the guy your girl's wishing for when you finish your 2 minutes, kid.
Shams off Wish is crazy.
You know what I mean?
Shams off Wish is actually
she wishing,
crazy.
baby. She wishing for more than 2 minutes. All right, XB11. That's all we got to say. Continue.
Dub, how you feeling about the Desmond Bane conversation?
2 minutes is pretty long.
You might need a little blue pill, Dub. Might need a little blue pill.
Yeah, you talking about 2 minutes is long, bro.
What a blue chew sponsor, man. What a blue chew
get some blue chew, drink some water, my guy. You gotta work on that, bro.
Hey, take some of that turmeric too. Some turmeric, good for you.
What's it called? Desmond. I don't look at his contract any type of way, especially when we talk about the salary cap coming up. I think he's been fine for the crew. I just think I think more of the Grizzlies and what's going on with them is, just their whole little dilemma with Ja Morant, and then him getting hurt. It's just been severely unfortunate. But I don't think they're looking at the contract that they're giving Desmond Bane and looking at it like, oh, yeah, we regret this whole thing. Because even then, like Desmond Bane handling – this is kind of a good growing pain for Desmond Bane, and even though it's adjustment period because he's more of a main ball handler this year, that's just something that's just going to better his game. Practice makes perfect. And him being more of a ball handler, getting into scenarios like this, when Ja does come back, he's more used to being alone. So now Ja being there is going to be such more relief where he could, capitalize even further than what he was doing before. So Desmond Bane and what he was doing this year, I think he's been fine this year. I think he's been pretty solid. And, the contract that he has, I don't think the Grizzlies are looking at it like, we're overpaying for this guy, because I think he's everything that, they're asking for in my mind.
Man, can we get to literally one of the worst contracts in the league? Because I haven't heard nobody say it, and I think it's time to really, man, listen, you know what time it is, man. Bradley Beal, man. $250 million. Now, listen, it's one thing to be 250, right, Hayes? It's another thing when you have a no-trade clause, so they can't trade your ass. They're stuck with that contract. And B, even if they do trade him, he has a 15% trade kicker.
That's
how many years left does he have? How many years left does he have?
I think he's got like 3 years left on that contract. Let me double check real quick.
So Washington, they had him on that contract. They had him for 1 or 2.
Yeah, he has 3 years left. The last year's a player option.
3 years.
And he opted into that.
He might as well go ahead and send him the last year's $57.1 million. How he's paying right now, he's opting it.
That's just one of those deals too. Again, with the Levine thing, where I think you had to give it to him. Like he was balling. And the year before he signed,
I want no.
Oh wait, what the averaging like 30? What the averaging like 35 and 5?
That's cool for him. That's not worth $250 million with a no trade clause. Absolutely not.
I think anybody.
Absolutely not.
So is it the money that you have a problem with, Gifted, or is the money paired with the no trade clause?
It's the money. Okay, he's not worth $250 million.
But
that contract in itself. Okay.
Max. Dollar matter. He was worth
no. That's not a max. That's a super max.
Okay,
200. Yes, because he made all NBA after averaging 30, so he qualified for it, and they paid him that. A, he is not a super max player. 1, and B, for Bradley Beal, not LeBron James, not Jokic, not Steph Curry, not Giannis, not Kawhi, not Kevin Durant. For Bradley Beal to get a no trade clause, knowing that there's guaranteed money, knowing, to Hayes' point, the games played, knowing that he's far from what he was when he was averaging 30. He's no longer that same caliber of player. Part of that is overall injuries. Part of it is his game is regressing. And what his age is, there's no way that they should have given him that much money. The Wizards drastically overpaid. And the crazy part about it is they choose to trade him and tank the year after Victor Wembanyama enters the league. They should have been traded him.
And he hasn't played over 60 games in 5 years.
No, that's a terrible contract.
I mean, with the age thing, he signed that deal when he was 28, 29. It looks
like. And that's terrible. A 5-year contract when you're 28 years old and you're already injury prone. That's a terrible contract.
I hear you, Gifted, but the NBA 28, 29 is still young, especially in today's
It's
NBA.
still pretty young.
That's still pretty young. It feels like 32. I'm with
and
you.
not for Bradley Beal with injuries and a no trade clause. When you're not even a top 15 player.
The injury thing, I can understand. Injury thing, like I say, he didn't play over 60 games. But I mean, man, again, a guy at that time, we got to remember the way we were viewing Bradley Beal.
I remember Bradley Beal, really good player, not worth 250, not top 15. I remember
that contract was overstated even when he was at the height of his powers.
Yeah,
like, I told that people all the time, like, and that was more of a loyalty grab with the Wizards. Was like, oh yeah, Beal, you're here.
And him making that All NBA team,
money. Yeah, you made that All NBA team. Yeah, you're my guy. I'm gonna rock with you. My whole thing is, if you're not the Wizards paying for that contract, does it make sense to pay that contract?
I think other teams will give him a supermax though. He would have got a supermax. It would have been less if he moved to a team because obviously when you stay with a team,
it would have been less. But even
he
then,
he would have got the supermax anyway.
I'm of the belief like him even getting that supermax deal to me. No,
he's not a supermax player. Bottom line, he's not.
He's not. And it was just the whole him balling out on the Wizards crew, and then they made the postseason with Russ. It's like, bro, like, come on. He never does. I don't think he ever deserved that much money due to his powers, due to his skill. But it's not that he's not a really good player. It's just, bro, you were overpaid as soon as you got that contract. That was just
if you're not even a top 10 player, he's not even in the conversation to be top 10 at the time when he got the contract. He wasn't even top 10 talks. If you're not even at least in top 10 talks, there's no way you can convince me that he's worth a supermax with the no trade clause, and on top of that, a 15% trade kicker on $250 million.
I think it was right there.
That's crazy. People not right there.
12, 13,
people were all
11,
saying he was a superstar, that he could be a 1-2 championship career. I remember those conversations.
The no trade clause.
Oh, well, that's CTE. Because that's no.
The no trade clause thing is definitely a little.
Because he's the only player in the NBA with the no trade clause.
He's the only one.
That's crazy.
Bradley Beal is the only.
Bradley
the only player in the league with no trade clause. Is crazy.
Get that shit out of here, man.
I think with the supermax team, like there's gonna be probably how many, like 20, 25 supermax players in the league.
Oh, for sure.
No, whoa.
I want to say how many? How many?
Serious?
I was wondering. Wait,
not 20.
Hold on. So you're gonna have.
Bro, it's barely 5. It's barely 5.
The most where it can, the most where I think it could be, and I'm talking about most, and I'm generous, is 10. That's the absolute most. Because then I'll think about like Giannis or Luka and Jokic.
I mean, if you look at
Wembanyama. But even then, outside of that,
there are 10 players on supermax contracts right now.
Okay, 10 right. There's going to be a couple more added. There's going to be a lot of guys added to that list. A lot of these guys.
And that shit's not it. I'm not trying to give Mikal Bridges a supermax.
And by the way, that's not counting Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown as their supermaxes haven't kicked in yet. So technically, they're on supermax too. They just haven't kicked in.
What about a guy? So a guy like, let's say, Trae Young. Do you think he's a supermax player?
No.
Get a supermax. See, that's the thing, though. But this is the thing. We can judge who deserves it, who doesn't. But based on the NBA kind of financial climate, he's a supermax guy. He's going to get that max, whatever it is. He's going to.
I actually don't know if he's going to get that max. Hawks might blow that shit up. That's not crazy to say.
I mean, I think the Hawks are blowing it up.
Wherever he goes, he's going to get the max or supermax, whatever the max.
You'll get a max. I don't know about a supermax.
You only get the supermax with the team that drafted you, though. So, like, all these other teams can't offer him that.
Julius Randle might get. I mean, no, he wasn't drafted by.
Not Julius. No.
What about
That's why I said Luka and Jokic probably gonna get one. Giannis will probably get one. Wemby could probably get one.
Right now, Jokic is on one. Yeah.
Jokic is on
Jokic is
one.
on one.
You think
So
Jamal
then,
Murray
yeah.
gets one? But he didn't make an All-NBA team. So he'll get a
Nah.
max.
Bro.
Hey.
Why do you keep throwing out players that are not like
Because gifted.
Wait. Why is it that we say Supermax and you think, okay, Jamal Murray? Like,
No. We got to understand. We got to understand the way the NBA teams work financially. They're going to have probably 2 to 3 max guys on their roster.
and Jamal's not
some of them will be a super max based on their credentials. Some of them will be a max guy. So obviously, I'm kind
But why would Jamal Murray be that if he's never made All NBA once?
He can't be a super max.
No, he can't
player.
be so he'll get a max. He'll get a max.
He'll get a max. I do think he will get a max.
But let's say he makes an All NBA team. Let's say he makes a third team.
He won't.
He'll probably.
He's not when.
He won't. He probably won't. He
When
might have
is
a
his
season where he
contract
sneaks on. Hold on. There's a lot of players that sneak into a third team.
Yeah, but
A lot of
on
players
the teams
have to
in the
have
league
real-
right now,
Not
especially in
Jamal
the
Murray.
West, like he's really good. He'll probably never make it. There's too many guards.
Jalen Brunson probably gets a super max when this contract's over. He's gonna make an All
I can
NBA
see.
team.
He can't.
I can see that happening for Jalen Brunson. I can see that happening.
No,
for
he got
Jalen
traded.
He
But hold
got
up,
traded.
He also years of service. It's not just if you've been drafted. It's also after a certain amount of years of service for a team.
Oh, that's right.
I'll
Yeah,
go for super max.
Yeah, but when his
true.
contract is up, how long? How many years is it?
I don't know.
I think they signed him to like a 4-year deal last year. He played the first year last year, so
It might be
he's
like
got 3
3
years left.
to be
I
eligible
think.
for a super max with the team. I think it might be 3 years. I want to look it up. Maybe three or 5 years.
Okay.
It could be one of those. I'd imagine.
They may give him one just
Yeah.
cause. Oh, and I'm glad y'all brought up Jalen Brunson. Now, Hayes, you got something else? Because I do want to ask this question so badly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
He said, "Hey, Hayes," and Gifted said, "Thanks for answering for me, Gifted."
Oh. My bad. I'm just saying.
Yo.
Last time he didn't know who you know what I'm saying. So
you. I mean, listen.
no, I'm saying. Hold on for a minute. You know.
Do we look the same now to you, Dub? Now that I don't have the glasses on, do you?
Oh, I
Hey,
never
like-
said y'all
hey,
look the
hey,
same. Don't put
hey,
words
I'm
into
just-
my mouth. Don't put words into my mouth. Y'all gonna give me
Hey,
some
like-
allegations I'm not trying to have again. Like, what do we do?
That's crazy. That's crazy, Doug.
Says
Damn.
all black people look alike. It's official
Yeah,
now.
that's crazy.
Yeah, this D right here looks just like the Bulls logo, huh? Crazy.
Get this a Rogaine. Let him grow that beard a little bit, man. He could be hazing like 15. Really good.
That's funny.
Nah, but so yeah, Jalen Brunson. I was talking to Ron about this actually the other night.
Mhm.
If he is having another run, because last year he played great. Last year he played crazy in the postseason. If he having another great run in the postseason against like elite defenses like he did last year, how are we talking about Jalen Brunson? Is he above Trae Young? Is he in these top 15, approaching top 10 conversations? Like, where are we ranking Jalen Brunson when he sits here and performs great in the postseason? Because me personally, my mind's made. I'm not. He better than Trae Young than me. But
Okay.
Is he in that?
I want to hear
SGA
y'all
tier?
thoughts.
So like
not
I
SGA,
like
not
this.
SGA.
I like this talk right here, Dub, because I feel like what people underrate is not only is Jalen Brunson extremely good, but he plays a lot of his games. And at least in the postseason now, 2 times he's proven that he can be a very good player. Him and Luka led the postseason as a scoring duo of any team in the playoffs when he was doing that on the Dallas Mavericks. We saw his decision making in the postseason as the Knicks' best player. If he did it a third year, I really think he would be entering those conversations. I like Trae Young. I think Trae Young is a better passer and playmaker ultimately than Brunson, but I think that Brunson has a bit more counters to his game that are a bit more playoff proven than Trae Young. Although to Trae's credit, versus the Boston Celtics last year, he was figuring out their defense in the last 3 games. So to me, that's a conversation. But I think Jalen Brunson would absolutely be in those talks, undoubtedly for me.
Is he starting at next year, Mitchell? Let's say next year. Would
Yeah.
you wait before next year's season starts? Would you place him higher than LeBron, KD, Steph? We understand those guys are getting older.
Well,
I'm saying that's what I'm saying. So
very
where
roll,
like those
man.
guys, I'm just hold on. That's what I'm saying. Though. That's what I'm saying. So those guys obviously getting a year older. You know, they're all 3 of them are in top 10, but they're probably in the second half of the top 10, the 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10,
Yeah.
right? So a guy like Jalen Brunson enter, he's going to kick one of those guys out. And
He would have to get to the top 10 first, bro. Can we start on 15 first and then work our way up?
Gifted asked me for Shea. I'm not sure that he's like. I'm not gonna lie. Shea's better than me than him.
Shea's better than Brunson. No.
So I can't.
Yeah.
So if he's not even breaking that echelon, there's no way he's in that tier right there. Not at all. Not yet. But to talk more about like Jalen Brunson, especially like comparing him to Trae Young, I'd literally seen Trae Young drop 15 points against Miami. And what did this?
Oh yeah, Miami had him in a box. Yeah.
And what did Jalen Brunson do? He had like what 30. But to be fair, I'm not gonna lack context here. We were blitzing the hell out of Trae Young.
Blitzed the shit out of Trae Young.
It was insane.
Jalen Brunson better than Jimmy Butler. That's what I'm saying. Like Jimmy's just you know the conversation we're gonna have. Jimmy's gonna go off in the playoffs.
If
postseason Jimmy don't show up,
then
yeah, we can have that combo 1,000%.
There it is. Okay.
1,000%. He's
how far is Jalen Brunson from Devin Booker?
That's another one.
So there's like and this is the thing with Jimmy Butler. We could get in this back too.
Okay.
He is all of his arguments for like being over some of these guys, a lot of these guys is the postseason. So I guarantee you, if he does not perform well in the postseason or what we think he is, no one's putting him over Devin Booker. No one's putting him over Donovan Mitchell. No one's putting him over the Jalen Brunson conversation would be there. He is strictly off of, all right, I make my value known in the postseason, and that's it. If he doesn't have that value, a lot of those guys are going over him.
I feel like Jimmy Butler doesn't retain the same value for the entirety of the season, but the reason why he's a hard player to judge is he openly has stated he does not care about the regular season. And then if you track his numbers towards the end of regular season, that's when he starts playing at his peak version. And then in the playoffs for 3 years now, he's shown to perform at a high level. I mean, when you are the best player in a series with Jason Tatum and people have Tatum as a top 10 player, like you're of that ilk, right? When you perform the way that Jimmy Butler did versus the Bucks in round one, which still is one of the craziest performances we've seen in the postseason, you are of that ilk. Where he ranks, it's hard to rank him.
Jimmy Butler is like an artist who you listen to their songs, you're like, hey, it's cool. But then when you see them perform it live, you're like,
it's hard. It's crazy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what Jimmy Butler is. When he's on the stage, you don't doubt him. But to Dub's point, if you get on that stage and we don't see playoff Jimmy again,
how are we talking about you?
Yeah. You gotta start talking about it.
So that's why when you're asking about Devin Booker and everything, I think Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell will still probably be better than Jalen Brunson, but it's not by a far margin. I just think offensively, those guys are just insane, But Jimmy Butler, like I said, like Jimmy Butler in the top 10 is like.
I just think the difference between all those players and Jimmy Butler is Butler has proven that his decision-making translates, the free throws translate, and he's a much better defender than all of those players. I think when you bring up Brunson, the scoring counters that he has in terms of his play style, to me, is a lot more translatable than Devin Booker. I feel like Booker's shot making was so otherworldly last year that people think that that's the player that he truly is. But I feel like if you just evaluate how Brunson plays basketball and how Booker plays basketball, Brunson's play style is more repeatable than Devin Booker's, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if I can say he's like outright better than Booker because we've seen him do it longer, but this season he's been better than Devin Booker. I don't think that's crazy to say.
But what do you mean? Like, because when I look at Devin Booker and even Jalen Brunson's game, it's both of them is a lot of tough shot making, a lot of, Devin Booker, a lot of mid-range pull-ups, a lot of finding his spots. And even then when he gets to his spots, there's always some hands in his face there. In terms of rim pressure between those two guys, it's not like no one's clearing the other one in that aspect. So I'm looking at their game. If you're talking about maybe some post work with Jalen Brunson, I can understand it, but Devin Booker has post work as well. And, Jalen Brunson being smaller plays a factor here too. So in my head, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think both, if we're going to question Devin Booker's game being transferable to the postseason, we need to look at Jalen Brunson too, because it's around the same way.
Well, the argument I would make is I think Brunson gets to the basket way more comfortably than Booker. I think he draws contact and gets to the free throw line way better than what Booker does. And Booker, to me, is a lot more based on his proficiency as a jump shooter. I think Brunson developing his shot, but also playing with his overall downhill physicality is why I feel like he might translate better. And I'm just saying, if you compare their postseason runs, right? Brunson last year versus Devin Booker, what I would say is Brunson, in terms of his roster last year, where he was playing with a injured Randall. Can you imagine if Brunson was playing next to KD, where the playoff defenses are really scheming based off where Kevin Durant is and Booker is killing every mismatch? I think Brunson could do it, maybe not to the same extent of a Devin Booker. I wouldn't say that, but he could still be very, very productive overall based off his play style.
This is where I got to be fair here, because even though KD's there, and I brought this for Trae Young and Jalen Brunson, like Miami was just letting him eat. Not gonna lie, like one-on-one, like we're not like blitzing him heavily and everything like that. Like he's getting off on like just one-on-one opportunities like that. So like those same one-on-one opportunities would be there. Like basically he's getting the same thing coverage on both teams. So Kevin Durant being there doesn't matter like that, because he was getting that same coverage with and without that. It's just because people, if I'm going to be honest, like people in the postseason, especially Miami, like, you know, him going on that run is just like, oh, yeah, we're not expecting this at all. We weren't expecting this at all for you to be going crazy like this. Devin Booker, especially against the Denver Nuggets, and I don't want to sit here and harp on that series because I think that was an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, but it was crazy.
This man started taking blitzes, triple teams, making the right reads, and just making crazy shots after crazy shots. So I'm like, the gravity of Devin Booker, especially last season, was something that was far on a greater level than Jalen Brunson.
And see, I can respect that for all the games until games 5 and 6, which we don't talk about for Devin Booker.
He got hurt.
He did?
He landed on his foot wrong. And after he landed on his foot wrong, like he wasn't the same.
Really?
I remember that vividly.
Okay. You don't even remember faces. We don't trust your memory.
This guy's nuts. This guy's nuts.
That was good. That was good right there. That was good. That was really good right there.
Oh,
that was a good little jab right there.
Speaking of Donovan Mitchell, though, like with because the next topic that we got on the list to kind of get back on track here, Donovan Mitchell was recently asked about his future in Cleveland. Basically said he has I got a lot of things to focus on right now outside of that. And this has already led a lot of speculation that the Nets and the Knicks both could be ready to make big moves towards Donovan Mitchell if the Cavs decide to make him available in trade talks. We've heard the rumors of New York, the Knicks being interested in Donovan Mitchell for years now. Depending on how the Cleveland Cavaliers postseason ends, do you think that they may backtrack on that? Because their GM right now said that he expects Donovan Mitchell to be there long term. Next year's the last year on his deal. Do we think the Cavs could pivot to look to move Donovan Mitchell and one of those New York teams be right there waiting to make a big move if he's made available?
I think that's nasty, by the way. I do not want to see Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson on the same team. I'm so sick of this like two small guard lineup shit, bro. That don't translate well to me. But in terms of what the Cavs re-sign him, I mean, I think realistically, if you're the Cavs, you were looking to create a younger team to build around to get you away from the bad teams post LeBron. I feel like they would want to see this through. But to me, a lot of it is based on the context of what happens in the postseason. Because last year, Donovan Mitchell underperformed in the playoffs, right? Evan Mobley and Jared Allen looked very touchable in the playoffs. They were avoiding contact. They weren't being overtly physical. They were getting dog walked by the New York Knicks. So in terms of how they bounce back now, they haven't really addressed that part of it, but they got better shooters. And you hope that maybe, Mitchell returns to form this year in the playoffs, because normally Donovan Mitchell is a pretty good playoff player. So I think seeing how that pans out for this year and seeing what happens with that really will make them blow up this roster. Because I personally don't think that Mitchell and Garland together can win a title together, because you have two smaller guards that are guys that can be, sought after defensively. I just don't like that fit. And I think they have to get a true wing type to really complement that team.
Can I say something to that? Because the thing that hurt them last year wasn't their defense. Like their defense was pretty good, especially in the Knicks series. What hurt them was the lack of other scoring options outside of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. I think you could win with crews like that. I think even though things like, and Mars said this as a point before, and I agree wholeheartedly, where even if something, and people do the same thing with Luka Doncic, was so stupid to me.
Yeah.
Even though something isn't necessarily done consistently throughout the history of the NBA, doesn't negate the fact that that very thing can still be successful. Stephen Curry winning titles the way he was winning it, that was something that we've never seen ever. But he sat here and he won. It was possible. Jokic being a center that can't play defense like that, even though that really doesn't happen, guess what? That was something that happened and he broke the trend. Magic Johnson being a big guard like that and being the main guy pushing the pace and everything, playing at a crazy fast pace and playing through the perimeter was something that wasn't really normal, and he broke that trend. So the whole thing with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, or let's say Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, I think a lot of things in basketball can work. It's all about executing to make that thing work. And I do think, especially if they have some guys with some more reliable scoring, because Evan Mobley is an offensive terrorist. No, Jared Allen is mainly getting rim pressure, and Okoro is just up and down. Karis LeVert is inconsistent as hell. You know, the shooting, even this year, I don't believe in the shooting like that. It was just something that's not consistent, which hurt Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell to be successful in the postseason. So I think you can make that work. You need those pieces around there to help them out to be great, you know?
And that's why, to that point, that's why I'm saying I don't see the backcourt at all working, because the idea is, okay, Garland and Donovan offensively are going to carry us from the perimeter, and then our front court is going to make up for all of their flaws defensively. The issue comes in where you can't maximize offensively when Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are both looked at as flaws. Yeah. But realistically, in terms of value, you can get more value back if you trade Garland. And now having Jared Allen, which, by the way, I think Jared Allen has been phenomenal this year. He's played at an all-star level since not making an all-star game. I think that's what I'm more so looking at. I feel like there's a redundancy issue with Garland and Mitchell, because more than ever, if you watch any Donovan Mitchell this year, Donovan Mitchell as a lead decision maker has been terrific for that club. I don't think Garland really fits into that same type of style anymore. And I kind of feel like if you're not able to trade Garland, maybe Mobley, right? Maybe there's some value that you can find back from there. But I truly feel like if you just get rid of Garland and give those touches to Mobley, you can now, empower him more as an offensive player, and the value that you can get back. I feel confident that a team could trade Garland and get back like a star wing.
Okay. So your issue, and I understand it now. I think your issue is more of the personnel issue rather than two guards being able to be successful together, right? Because Luka and Kyrie, both guards, defense, something that can be taken advantage of, but we know how great those are, and that's something that we do think can work, I would assume, with the Dallas Mavericks, correct? So, all right, if you talk about the personnel of just not believing in, like, Darius Garland like that, I can understand, and maybe Donovan Mitchell, but if we do put Donovan Mitchell and JB together, and let's say if they go to the Knicks together, I'm assuming you try to move off of Julius Randle, get a versatile.
You move off of Julius and you keep OG in that, then I can see some
OG helps so much. Having OG, having OG there.
I understand I understand where your concerns are now. Yeah. I get it. Okay.
And I'm not saying that it's impossible, right, Dub? I just feel like to make it work, like it's doable, but to make it work, you got to have like the best roster construction around those two guys to make it make sense.
Like everything in life. Yeah. Like everything in basketball. Like you need the best scenario you possibly can have.
And I think you have to weigh the options. Is it easier to build around such a small backcourt and fill in what you need? Or do you want to go more traditional? And that's depending upon what you already have as the team, what you're giving up. The New York Knicks fascination with Donovan Mitchell is always intriguing me because, like, I'm not gonna lie, as just a basketball fan, seeing Brunson and Mitchell on the same team would be crazy to watch from an offensive standpoint. And I guess they do have some wing defenders that they've added there that could make it make sense, but it's just from a basketball standpoint, I just want to see it. I'm not even going in front of you. I just want to see it.
Just seeing Donovan Mitchell in the Knicks jersey is something dope.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think Mitchell definitely wants to leave the Cavs for sure. I think he's made that very clear.
Okay.
He wants to go to the Knicks. I just think the Cavs, though, I think their biggest downfall is the evolution of Evan Mobley just hasn't happened. I think there was an expectation.
Yeah, great point.
Take another step,
Great
right?
point.
Really kind of become, a better scorer, defender, all that. And he's been good. I think we all agree he's been good, but he just hasn't taken that next step to maybe challenge for all NBA third team type of player. I thought that was a guy who was eventually going to become a Bam
Right.
type, right? And he just hasn't. So I think that's definitely hurt them too. But in terms of the small guard, I definitely agree. I think if you do have that, you need a guy like OG, who again, that number 3, big, strong wing, long, can defend multiple positions. You definitely need somebody to kind of hold down defensively when you have 2 smaller guards.
Yeah, and like I would say this, and Dub, I'm not sure if you would side with me here, but I feel like a part of Evan Mobley's development is kind of being stunted offensively, because when you have Donovan Mitchell and Garland, it makes sense to run your offense primarily through those two guys. If Garland wasn't there, now it's like, okay, it's Mitchell who's going to mainly be on ball. Okay, Evan, let's try to use you on ball more as a hub or do some more, things. When it's those two guys plus maybe LeVert, you're saying, okay, Mobley, go in the corner in space or go set a screen off ball, right? Like there's not much offensive freedom he's going to have if you have 3 ball handlers plus Evan Mobley. The vision should be, to me, like seeing how far you can go with maximizing his overall skill set in that way. And based off the roster, they haven't been able to do that to me.
So yeah, you said a point there. I did agree. My bad. I live next to a church. I heard people screaming. They're just singing.
Okay,
you live next to a church? See, that's true. That the devil stays close to home, bro.
That's wild. Yeah,
That's
not
crazy.
go down that road. Let's not go down
Pray
that
for
road.
your sins, Dub.
Yeah. What's it called? Damn, that fucked me up.
The devil got to him.
What was I saying? Oh yeah. All right. So the Darius. So yeah, I do understand the point, and I don't even disagree with that point of trying to maximize Evan Mobley because of his offensive skill set to see what that can be, and moving off of Garland. We gotta understand why Garland has the role that he had. Garland came out of nowhere. Garland was also a guy that, I don't think Cleveland looked at oh yeah, this is going to be a main staple. He was having a great year a few years ago, and they were just trying to capitalize and build off of that. So you're having an unexpected guy that exploded, and with him being hurt, he's in and out of the lineup. Donovan Mitchell's taking the reins of that offense, and when he comes back, now we need to go through an adjustment period of trying to figure out how he's going to coexist in this unit. And I just think, mainly because of availability, it's just something hard to do. But at the same time, like you said, that's probably hurting Evan Mobley's game because he's not having the opportunity to sit here and expand his game enough. And, it's not like the Miami Heat where, because when I look at Evan Mobley and Bam, I can sit here and see some similarities in offense. But we have a system that we run where it's getting him touches to be more comfortable. Yeah. Evan Mobley, especially with them two being there, he can't get those touches because they don't really run that system like that. So a guy like Evan Mobley needs to have the ball in his hands to get a bit more comfortable so that mid-range can get more consistent. His ability to get to the rim could be a bit more consistent because, like I said, practice makes perfect with Desmond Bane. In my opinion, he's probably getting a bit better because of this opportunity that he has right now. That's something that Evan Mobley doesn't have. So I agree with that point right there completely. I just think Darius Garland in this whole mix was something unexpected, and Cleveland moving off of Donovan Mitchell is completely on Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan Mitchell said, yo, I want to sit here and be a Cleveland Cavalier,
they're going to re-sign him. Yeah,
he's staying. But if they're not sure about where he wants to go, I have no choice. Yo, we got to move off of you. So that's really
in Cleveland. Let's just be honest. Nobody wants to play in Cleveland.
Cleveland's trash, bro.
It's Cleveland. You know what I mean? It's Cleveland. Shout out Cleveland, but it's just not a place.
Don't shout out. Cleveland is a terrible city. Don't shout out Cleveland.
He said, "Don't shout out Cleveland."
Don't shout out Cleveland. We're not going to do that here.
I've never heard.
He said, "Keep it real."
I've never heard of any kid in high school be like, "I dream of playing for Cleveland." You know what I mean? I've never heard that. LeBron made him the face of the NBA for 7-8 years, and then he went back and he made them relevant. Really, ever since then, it's just kind of like, all right, they've had some good teams, but it's Cleveland.
It's Cleveland.
Yeah, they drafted Garland 5 overall, so it's I feel like they wanted to see what he could be. He was one of the worst rookie players in the league the year that he first came into the NBA and he 100% developed himself into what he is now. I still think he's kind of far from what his prime could be, but I just feel like if your best shot maker is Donovan Mitchell, and then after it, it's Garland, and then like the roster doesn't make too much sense around that, I think breaking that up would kind of make sense. So we'll see what happens though, because again, I think that they got better by adding shooters, but to Dove's point, I don't know if I'm realistically believing in these shooters come postseason time. And more importantly, the shooters that they added can still be, they can still be liabilities at times defensively. And my whole thing is you can make a super offensive core work if the offense is 100% translating. But versus the Knicks defense, it couldn't because of your front court. But your defense was so good because of the front court. So it's like one of these things has to go, right? Now this whole thing would change if you could tell me, okay, they keep the roster the same and they get Paul George. Now it's like, okay, we have a 3 that can do guard stuff, but also defend. That can make sense, but that's not realistic for Cleveland.
If I was Mitchell, I'd want to go to San Antonio.
No, I'm gonna tell the chat.
Wemby, and
I'm gonna tell the chat. My bad. I completely forgot he was top 5. Like I dead ass forgot.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie. Who's really paying attention to Cleveland like 2019, 2020? I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't. So
LeBron was out of there.
That's mine. I completely forgot he was top 5. That's wild. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's it on that one. I think we killed that one. Donovan Mitchell, bro, and Jalen. I still just want to see it. Say what you want to say. I just need to see that lineup together. I just want to see it. Just 15 games of it is going to drive me crazy. I can tell already. But we got a lot of injuries that came back over the course of last week. One just went down again for a playoff team. And this is keep talking about the New York Knicks. The Sacramento Kings losing Malik Monk for up to 6 weeks. The Kings, who just a couple of weeks ago were out the play-in, and right now the 8th seed in the Western Conference, they would have to go through that play-in. Malik Monk was on a stretch where many people were labeling him the 6th man of the year. How much does this loss hurt the Sacramento Kings as they do their playoff run?
It's a bad loss, man. It's a huge loss. Now, do I believe, like Penn on the panel, that Monk is a top 3 half-court playmaker in the NBA? No, but he provided a lot of important value for that Kings team. A spark plug that could come in, give you 25, 30, even 40 sometimes, right? They're missing that. A guy that can actually like read actions with DeMontis in the pick and roll and maximize things without Fox having to do it, right? Another guy who could be a capable spacer and combo guard. They don't have that. So now it puts more pressure on Fox and Sabonis to have to play more minutes and perform. They're also hurting because they don't have any Kevin Huerter either. So now it's like, okay, now you need Keon Ellis to really step up a lot more. It's going to be tough, man, because they also have some tough competition left as well, and we know how competitive that playing is. So this loss really might cook them in terms of can they make the playoffs or not. I really don't know.
I don't think people realize how important Malik Monk is to that team. There were so many, especially this season too, with the inconsistency of De'Aaron Fox. There's so many times like he just had to come in and had to give him 25, 30. Even the playoffs last year, there's a couple games where he was that guy who won him, a couple of those games in the series. I think
he went crazy sometimes in the playoffs.
Crazy. Yeah, he went absolutely crazy. So Malik Monk's been a guy that anytime Fox or Sabonis kind of didn't have it going, couldn't get you that 20 or 30, he was their guy. He was the guy to step up, get them buckets, create for their teammates. He's that sparkle they need. If they're down by 12 and need a run, he would kind of lead the charge for that. So he's huge. So guys like Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, they definitely need to step up. I think it's a great opportunity for Keegan Murray. He's a guy, again, Big Ox is really high on him. He's another guy I think people expect to take a next step. Maybe he steps up, which would be great for the Kings. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. But the way the West is and how tight everything is, these injuries are difference makers. A key guy like that going down is a difference maker between winning a first round and losing a first round because the margins are so small with these teams because they're all so good. And so, I mean, it's going to be huge for the Kings. Huge loss.
Malik Monk, it reminds me of somebody on the panel having a conversation with somebody about Malik Monk and like that was such a great that was
me and Penn. That was me and Penn. Yeah. I was told that he was a top 3 half-court playmaking player, period.
That's crazy.
Then it pivoted from that to he's a top 3 playmaking guard to he's top 10. I remember that.
So yeah, having a top 10 playmaking guard, I mean, it's just gonna make anybody go bad. You feel me? But
yeah, man, yeah.
now Malik Monk, especially off the bench, like I said, I'm not a believer in Sabonis' scoring like that. I'm just not. So in the postseason, especially, you're gonna need all hands on deck for that, and especially with some bench unit, more consistency there. Kevin Huerter, how long is he hurt for?
He's out for the season. He's done.
Oh wow! So yeah, Kevin Huerter being hurt is a big loss. A reliable shooter for them. Now Malik Monk not being available, your best ball handler off the bench, your best scorer off the bench, one of the best scorers on the team actually. Yeah, this is just a huge loss, and I never really believed in that the Sacramento Kings like that anyway. So this is just, I guess, more fuel to the fire of just not putting your stock into them, but. It's just sad to see. I hate to see people hurt. I'm not going to lie.
I hope he gets paid, too, because he was in a contract year. He was playing well this year, too.
I think he will get paid.
I think he'll still get paid. I don't think
he won't get paid
something that you're worried about it. Yeah. He's going to take a hit, but I think he's still going to get his money.
I got their last games left if you guys are interested on how they close out the season. They play Utah, Clippers, Knicks, Celtics, Nets, OKC, Pelicans, Suns, and then Portland.
Okay. Go check that out
There's
on
some wins
Playback.
in there.
Yep.
Go check that out on Playback, man.
Definitely.
Facts.
We'll see, man. I think ultimately, like, it comes down. The Kings are going to be fun to watch in the playoffs. I think I'm not picking them to go far this year anyway. So
It's Kings.
It's the Kings. Like, don't get me wrong, the Kings are super talented. I like a lot of their roster. I think De'Aaron Fox is a stud, but like it's just as good as they are in the regular season, they just feel like one of those teams that are going to win a lot of regular season games in the playoffs. Until something happens and somebody ascends a little bit further, it's going to be the same shit every year.
I hear that.
I agree. So, that's who they are. I agree wholeheartedly. That's who they are until they move off of Sabonis.
You really blaming Sabonis on that? Sabonis has been a top 5 to 10 center in the league.
He's been their best player for this season.
I don't think
my top 10 player in the league this year.
I don't think a guy in Sabonis being a number 1 or a number 2 is something that's conducive to winning a championship. Mainly because
I agree with that.
Yeah, mainly because of his game and how, like, what do you need from the center position, especially in this day and age?
Defense, passing, maybe shooting impossible.
Sure. You need some consistent scoring. Being a threat more than just the rim, and you being a defender, at least a versatile one, or at least one that can rim protect. He can't do any of those at all. And even then, like the rotations, he's terrible in rotations as well. He has crazy bad feet, crazy bad lateral movement. Like he's worse than Jokic to me. And that's crazy because I'm not even that high.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why, again, Nikola Vucevic damn near cooks him every time they play because he's bad laterally.
Mm-hmm. So you're a worse defender than Jokic. You're nowhere near offensively to the level of Jokic. In terms of you being a threat, I've seen teams not respect you from the free throw line. That's crazy. So your post game is good. Your rebounding's great.
One of the best, maybe the best rebounder in the game. Like he has a lot of strong assets too, right?
Until Kevon Looney sees him in the series.
But yeah, so Kevon, but yeah,
that was the thing.
Kevon Looney was boarding the hell out of him. It was wild. So a guy like that, banking on him as a 2 or even a 1 is something I'm not banking on because there's just too many things that you are terrible at that's going to be a hindrance to your team's crew. And that's why if they move off of him, to me personally, if they move off of him and you talk about regular season players and regular season teams, and that's the Kings. I think a big portion of why they're that regular season team is because of Sabonis. So if they move off of him to get a more serviceable big or versatile big, somebody that can stretch the floor, something like that, anything like that, defense better, I'll believe in that team much more than what they have right now. Far more.
I hear that.
Can Sabonis? So Sabonis can't be a 1 or 2. You think he'd be a number 3?
Good luck with that. I don't even know.
I think Sabonis can be a number
He's
3.
too good not to be a number 3 on a
I think the problem with being a 3 though is you then have to make a roster where Sabonis is like your hub offensively, and normally the hubs are either the 1 or 2. You rarely see teams where like the hub is like the 3 option, and even then, the problem with that is if he's your 3rd best player, how can you justify him being that bad defensively as your 3rd best player?
100%. Look, I think defensively, he's definitely, a bottom 10 defender in the league without a doubt, maybe bottom 5. Like, he's just super bad. I just think offensively, he just brings so much to the table that, like, there's no way he'd be a fourth. He'd be the best 4th option in the league. He's definitely too good to be a 4th option. Like I said, not good enough to be a 1 or 2.
The offense to me is overrated mainly because of the stats that he's able to produce. But
and the handoffs and whatnot, you mean?
The dribble handoffs that he's doing and off of those actions. I mean, there's a tons of bigs that can do that. KP can do that.
But he also does a lot of great passes too.
He's a great passer.
He is a good passer. Yes,
he's a good passer.
He's a good passer. Not to crap on that, but I don't think his offense is so crucial for the Kings and what they got going on that it's something that can't be replicated from other people.
Do you think?
I don't necessarily agree with that part. I think that they desperately need him for the handoffs and whatnot. I just feel like in terms of translating to postseason basketball, you need to see him develop counters. If he can shoot if he can shoot a consistent mid-range, I think that would make a lot of things hell for them because their handoffs, they give him so much space. If he could just knock down that shot consistently, that would be huge because I still feel like his best trait as a player above anything else is his rebounding. He's one of the craziest rebounders in the NBA, but seeing that translate where, okay, it's him versus Bam for like a full postseason run, right? Like how that looks, we still got to see it. Now, I personally believe that to shoot him some bail, this version of Sabonis, we haven't seen the playoffs because last year, to be fair, he did have a hand injury, but you still saw limitations of what he could do offensively versus a good defense. That's the question. Can he translate versus a team that has a good defense? Because in terms of mismatch hunting, if he gets a switch, he can kill you. He definitely can, but we got to see it.
Do you think if you put him on, let's say, an OKC next to Chet, you have SGA, Jalen Williams, takes the scoring pressure off. He's a great passer, going to find those guys. And I think he'd be a 3rd. I mean, depending on, I'm high on Jalen Williams, but he'd probably be the 3rd. Some nights, maybe the 2nd. Some nights, the 4th. So I think he fits in OKC well. Even a team like the Knicks. I think if you replace Randall with Sabonis, I think they get a lot better too. Especially when you have guys like OG, Jalen Brunson, DiVincenzo there. You put Sabonis next to Donovan Mitchell. The shooting between those two may be problematic, but I think there's enough shooting around them within the guards and small forward position that it could work. I think Sabonis just have to build a team. You think the Knicks get worse?
I think the Knicks get worse with Sabonis, mainly because defensively, Julius Randle clears what the hell Sabonis got going on. He's a versatile guy for those guys. And
until the playoffs start.
Until the playoffs start.
No, to the playoffs.
Yeah, now we're talking playoffs dropping.
No, playoff offensively, but I think that defense is going to be there for Julius, like far more than Sabonis, even with the postseason coming. And even then, like teams aren't.
The offense is terrible though.
Teams aren't leaving him wide open.
And then while people are doubting Jaylen Brown's ability to go left, Julius Randle only goes left in the playoffs.
Yeah,
don't watch the possession. He only goes. It's the weirdest thing to watch in the playoffs. He goes left.
Hey, I don't like Julius Randle in the postseason as well. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But when we're talking about defensively and what that defense really means for that crew, and now you're having 2 bigs, because I'm assuming Mitchell Robinson or Harkenstein's going to be there. You have 2 bigs where people aren't respecting at all. Because at least Julius Randle, even though he's bad, they're not leaving him wide open for threes.
That would be bad.
At times, but they're not every single possession leaving him open.
That's facts.
So what's it called?
You do not want to see Sabonis with another big man out there for a post.
Hell no.
Just get to OKC. Just get Sabonis to OKC.
I don't think OKC's bad, but I just don't see it. I don't think it's bad, but it's like, does it make much
sense? He can fit in there. The way they
put him there,
next to Chet. Chet's at the center.
You want Sabonis next to Chet?
I would start Sabonis.
Who's getting put off the team?
Yeah, someone got to go. You're not just
somebody got to
go. Wait,
somebody got to go.
That starting lineup would be SGA, Jalen Williams, Sabonis, Chet.
and then maybe let's throw in Lou Dort as a shooting guard.
It have to be Lou Dort.
Yeah, Lou Dort shooting guard.
It
That's a
has
great
to be
starting
Dort.
five. That's a great starting five.
That's not bad. That's not
a
bad.
Yeah, but you're
That's not
getting
bad.
rid of their worst. Like you're getting rid of Josh. You're replacing Sabonis for like Josh Giddey,
With
like
Josh Giddey, which is
like
fine,
a role,
you know.
like a role. No, but it's like it's
Giddey
not
didn't-
even like if you're adding Sabonis, they
It's
have
not
to
gonna
give
happen.
something out.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're giving him like a
Yeah.
crazy
Guess what?
squad. Like that's
All
wild.
Jalen is doing is like plugging him on this
But guess what?
Yeah.
The
random
money,
fantasy
they,
team.
they got
yeah.
the money.
I could do
They-
that.
they
Every,
have a bird
Bradley
tag.
Beal. We talk about Bradley Beal. If I put him on the freaking who? The Celtics, I think they're
Yo,
great.
Sabonis would be
Miami
nasty
Heat.
on the Suns.
Miami Heat.
Sabonis-
If he's on
He would be
Miami,
really good
it'll
on the
be great.
Suns.
No,
Miami has to
But
give
Sabonis,
pieces
hold
up
up.
for
No,
him.
but hold up. Sabonis, the money works in OKC. They got David Bertans' contract going out. Ton of money. They got the ton of money to spend OKC. They can afford Sabonis. In terms
Well,
of
Yeah, but his
playing,
shit's expiring
Don't
this year.
forget,
That's what we're done
OKC
this year.
OKC
They do.
yet again has more draft picks coming in. They're open roster spots they're going to have, so they're
They sure
always
do.
open to make moves. Like this, so the people literally who don't have first round picks can just wait to see who OKC is going to cut every year and be like, that's going to be our
Facts.
first round pick.
that's so true.
I like this comment right here. Sabonis with Wemby would work. I see that working.
Oh,
Every
well,
player-
it's
sense to
Wemby.
me.
It's
Yeah,
Wemby. Every
yeah.
player
Yeah,
works with Wemby.
Yeah.
Wemby, like
That fits. That
Wemby's
fits.
a crazy dude. But
Yeah.
even then,
Crazy.
I do think they're gonna need a guard that's better than Sabonis in order for that to work. And even then,
I agree. Yeah,
and
yeah.
even then, like Wemby right now, maybe later on Wemby, but Wemby right now next to Sabonis, where I think people will be more comfortable leaving him open. We'll have to see. And then Wemby needs the ball in his hands and
No,
everything.
the way
and-
you're talking, you don't think Sabonis could be a starting player on a championship team?
I think Sabonis could
I
throw
didn't say that.
lobs all day to
But
Wemby. That wouldn't be hard.
You didn't say it, but that is kind of how you. If you
Yeah.
put everything that you said together,
I
that's kind
said
of what
the-
you're saying, bro.
No, I'm just giving you counters to what y'all saying. That's all
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Wait,
I'm giving
I
you
don't think
fair
Dub-
counters.
Listen, I don't think Dub is crazy for what he's saying when you think about
He's
what
not
we've seen
crazy.
for Sabonis
Yeah.
in the playoffs. I don't think that's crazy. I just feel like you got to maximize it in some type of way. I think Sabonis needs another power forward that can space next to him. If you're trying to make him the power forward, then I mean, cool, but I don't really see much value because, again, most of his value comes from hard screens, passes out of DHOs, and rebounding at the 5 position. Putting him back to the 4 doesn't really make much sense to me as much. That's why putting him next to Wemby makes a ton of sense because Wemby is very lengthy. He can bring the ball up sometimes, and then he can make passes to any Spurs shooter and even Wemby who needs the ball and doesn't get the ball. So that makes sense. But in terms of seeing a championship roster, what?
Like Sabonis at the 4 to me, or even at the 5, like Wemby defensively, he has to be the 5 because he's the rim protector.
Yeah.
So Sabonis as a 4, trying to be versatile and cover space, I'm good, bro.
I don't
I'm
want
good
to
off
cover
that.
space either. I think Wemby can listen. I think
But I
Wemby
think Wemby can make up
systematically
for
play
that.
the 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Wemby.
I think
Wemby's
he's that
length
good of
and
a
shot blocking
defender.
Can make up for that. It's just we'll never
I
see
agree
it.
to
We're sitting
disagree.
there, we're never gonna see it. We're never gonna see
Yeah.
it.
I just think so.
Derek
Like
had a
I
great
said,
point here, too.
I think it's extremely difficult. I think it's extremely
Benos doesn't fit
difficult.
OKC system, but aside from Chet, is a better natural 5 as a helper, not a roamer. I
I
don't
agree with
listen. I agree with the second half of it. As far as OKC system, Mike Dangold is such a smart offensive coach that I think he can make the system. Maybe that's just the way that I hold the OKC Thunder's coach in the high regard. Offensively,
No, he's a great coach. Yeah.
offensively, I think if you give him an offseason, if you make a move early in the offseason and give him enough time to adjust the system, I think he can make anything work offensively.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't disagree with him working on the OKC. It's just like that's like one of the most like optimized teams for him.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy for me. So that's one. That's one out of like
Right.
everyone else in the league. Go ahead. Good luck. I get it.
But all right, that's it for us for today, man. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of From the Logo over on Players Choice. We are live every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern and every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Jalen, Dub, Gifted, give them your social medias. Let's get the hell up out of here.
Absolutely. I am Gifted Hoops. I just turned 25 yesterday, so big 25 in the chat. Go tap in with me at Gifted Hoops _ on Twitter, Twitch, and also on YouTube. It's just Gifted Hoops. I will be making my full return to YouTube. I've been grinding up a lot on playback and whatnot. So yeah, that's me.
I am filing a petition to officially change Gifted's name to the Babyface Assassin because that man can't grow no facial hair.
Sadly.
I cut it every time. I be growing too much of it, and I cut it every time. So
I need to see video evidence of that to believe that. I don't believe that. that facial hair looking funny in the light, brother. Go ahead, Jalen.
Jalen Carter Music. Check me out on Instagram. Just shot the music video in the editing process. Dropping soon. Follow on TikTok too, Jalen Carter Music.
Done there, bro. And yeah, Gifted. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know you was 25. So shout out to being 99, baby, in the 90s, baby.
I thought Gifted was like 22.
But yeah, that
I like hearing that. I like hearing that.
Go eat some punani, man. It helps out.
Get your protein in.
Yes, sir.
Protein.
Salute to y'all. Like the video, subscribe, man. Peace, yo.
Y'all follow me at COAs, man.
I'm a wave. We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all next episode, y'all. Peace.
Go ahead. I'm gonna be on